Welcome to another episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. My name is Adam Vale. I'm a senior editor over at the Koalition with a K, koalition.com, and I'm joined by editor-in-chief of the Koalition, Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, viewers and listener? What's up, Adam?
And Throwdown's own Carlos Romero.
Yo, what's going on?
What's going on is that we're back with The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and this is episode 2, Gone. So we'll dive in real quick, but I just want to thank everybody for tuning in over on iTunes and on Spotify, and of course on YouTube, and leaving comments and just getting all back into the groove of things. It's just not with the show, but with Walking Dead, because apparently the ratings were through the roof for the show. Everybody tuned in to watch, whether it was on AMC Plus or over on AMC on cable. Before I even start getting into this, and we start breaking down this episode, which is episode 2, Gone, do you think this is going to bring this is going to be like a resurgence for the franchise? Rich, Carlos?
I feel like this is the show that they're putting the most money into out of all of them. I mean, the quality of the first 2 episodes alone have been really good, production-wise. And obviously, getting Rick and Michonne as part of your cast is pretty big deal. But so yeah, as far as if it's going to be a sign of things to come, I'm not too sure enough, because Rick and Michonne are those top heavy characters that we all love and know. Unless we have Daryl, we have Negan. If it involves those type of characters, then I can see a resurgence. But if it's anything else, if they try to do another Tales, if they try to do another Fear, if they try to do another World Beyond, I feel like that's just not going to work. It has to be these characters, and hopefully within these shows, if they build, if they use these characters to build other ones up, and maybe we get our new generation of characters that people fall in love with, then maybe it can keep going. But other than that, if they don't do that, then I feel like it's just gonna the series is just gonna die with the main cast.
Rich, what do you think about this?
I think it's too soon to say that particular statement about it being a resurgence. Let's just keep it 100%. This is the return of Rick, aka Andrew Lincoln. People have been wanting to know what happened to this character. I'm not saying Michonne is not an important character. Obviously, she is. But this guy hasn't been on the show for the longest time. So I think it makes sense why the ratings would be so high. That first episode, we need to wait and see how the rest of the season pans out before we say this is the resurgence. And I'm sure that there is a plan to reunite some of the cast members. So you could potentially see Daryl, you could potentially see Negan reunite with Rick in the future. But for now, this is really just focused on Rick and Michonne's story. But I'm very
you heard
glad
it from
that
Scott.
AMC...
Scott Gimple even said it. He wants the universes to collide. He wants to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, he did. He did make that statement. So I mean, but for right now, it's just focused on Rick and Michonne. This is their story, and I think obviously there was a lot of interest for the show, so it makes sense why the ratings would be high. But again, let's see what happens as the season continues, if those ratings remain high or if they start to plummet. So stay tuned.
I do want to mention that we talked about this in the previous episode about a potential colliding of the different casts and different universe of The Walking Dead, and I feel like it's much more of a possibility now than it ever was. And yeah, I mean, we got all these characters still. We still got Morgan and Mo chilling somewhere in the bushes somewhere in Georgia. So we still got a lot of characters that can be reintroduced, and the strength in numbers. I mean, the ending of The Walking Dead proper was unsatisfying for a lot of people, I think us included. And a lot of that had to do because 2 of the main characters in the whole show weren't there. And This is just them trying to compensate for that. And then maybe it, divulges it into something a little bit more compelling with all the rest of the cast of characters.
And it's not even so much that they weren't there, it's that we know that they're still, their journeys is still going on within that universe. We know they were still on their own adventure. So like, well, the story's not done. Where's the rest of it? So it definitely left it. But I agree with you, Rich. It's like, I don't put too much into this. We've seen this, and even with our shows, like usually out of all the episodes, the highest viewed and listened to are always the first episode of the season, the mid-season finale, and the last episode of a show, whether it's the season or the series. So yeah, I could see a lot of people that were like, "Hey, yeah, I want to hear how they explain this one. How did he get off the bridge? What's going on? And this and that. How did Michonne find him? How did they tie it together?" The one positive to all of this is that those who wanted those answers got them all in the first episode. So it didn't get dragged out like some shows do. And I really thought they were going to do that. They were going to drag it off and until a certain point so that way they can build the hype so everybody can go, hey, tell your friends, I think this is the episode where they meet up again and reunite and all this stuff. And that was all done in the first episode. So hopefully it carries on. I don't know, but then when they were talking about, oh, do you want these universes to collide and then combine? It's like, yes, and it makes sense, especially now when we break down this episode, because it sounds like all hands on deck are going to be needed for this journey. So again, this is episode 2. We will be going into spoiler territory discussion. So if you did not already watch it on AMC Plus or on AMC proper, then just come back afterwards and see if your views match up with ours, because we got some stuff to say about this. All right, so 3, 2, 1, boop. All right, so it starts off with the 6 years. All right, 6 years previous. So now we're getting the backstory with Michonne. What happened? And if you remember, we saw that she was out on her mission to go find Rick, and then she stumbled across these 2 people needing help, and they're linked to a caravan. She brings them back. Okay, now we see the caravan. That just so happens that the person that she saves, which is Aiden and Bailey, and there are a couple, not married, just a couple boyfriend, and we know this. They kept emphasizing it was a boyfriend because I think Bailey was the woman, right? Bailey is the one that's pregnant, the girlfriend. I mean, yeah, Aiden could be. I knew a female named Aiden. But anyway, let's say we'll go with that. We find out that the sister is in charge of the caravan. And the whole policy is that, sorry, got a dry throat, is that the caravan has to keep going and they just don't stop, even if people fall off. And Michonne's not cool with that. She was like, you guys seem cool. Look, I helped you out. Let me get my sister. And let me get a horse. I brought you back your sister, and then I'll be on my way. Shoo, sorry, my throat is really dry. But go say something, Rich. I gotta drink something.
Yo, Rich, it feels like Adam was drinking some of the stuff that the people were going through during the episode. When they couldn't breathe. I do want to mention. I just find it interesting about that caravan where it's like people leave whoever is left over. I mean, you saw the sister left her sister and the boyfriend away, and I'm curious. I mean, the one thing I guess I felt like the episode was good overall. I just was a little bit sort of nitpicky, but I felt like the fact that there was no kind of resolution between the sisters at the end. It was like, oh, I'm leaving. I'm going with Michonne.
I think that's going to come back. I think that's going to come back at some point because, like you said, yeah, it was very open ended. It's like, all right, well, we leave people behind. Like, you left your sister. Who leaves their sister? And then that's when Natty comes in. We're introduced to Natty, and he also explains the whole thing because he's friends with those 2 people. And he was like, well, if you're friends with them, you help them out. I'm going to help you out anyway. Mm-hmm. But it was very weird with that the caravan leader to make that statement of like, oh, we just don't leave anybody behind, but we're a very good community. How is that a good community?
So I just want to ask a question off topic. Since you mentioned the caravan, did any of y'all get the feeling and the vibe of you kind of reminiscent of the Oregon Trail games? The fact that you're always moving and people can die and get sick and all this other type of stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But where were they going? I don't think they really opened up on that. At least with the Oregon Trail, we know where we're going. We're going across. Yeah, I mean, that's a famous story. That's how people migrated. But where was this caravan going? They said we have to keep moving. All right, where are you going? But didn't really come up. Mm-hmm. So now we see that Michonne has friends. They really like Michonne for some reason. Don't understand why. because she hasn't really done anything for the community. But Natty really likes her. Aiden, of course, and Bailey, they're appreciative because brought them back to the group. The leader of the group wants to keep her. She keeps pushing for Michonne to say it. And there was somebody, remember, they're like, "Oh, just give the horse, give the horse." No, well, we could use you. And again, what has she done? I mean, she did more than what you did, which was save your sibling. But we didn't see anything. You know what I mean? They didn't see. It wasn't like, oh, there was a big herd around them. She came out with the sword. She knows how to use a weapon. They didn't see that. So I don't understand that whole part. But whatever. So long story short, she says, all right, well, I'll tag along because Natty keeps pushing for one day. Come on, let's hang out. And it's basically for character development. It's like, all right, we get the backstory with the boyfriend and the girlfriend. They were looking, she's pregnant and she had a craving for honey. And the boyfriend was like, oh, I think I saw a sign for a big box store. We're going to get you some honey, and everything's going to be great. And then that's when they fell into trouble in the whole thing. So it's like, okay, there's the backstory with that. We get some backstory with Natty, where, of course, it's a little person who was getting bullied, had problems growing up, but then the stepdad came in and helped out. What was his name? Danger, right? That was his name. He did a lot of crazy things. He made things, I think bombs and stuff like that, and basically helped him develop these skills. Because as we saw from the last episode, there was some kind of explosion or a rocket that was shot at the CRM helicopter, and that's Natty's doing. Natty knows how to make these things and then put these weapons together. So that's where he becomes handy to that community, which is why, again, it's like it blew up the weird questions as we get further into this part, because then when Michonne leaves off to go and says, all right, listen, you guys ever want to leave? I can't live this life. I got to go on my mission, find my husband, whole thing. And they were like, well, we talked about leaving, but we're not leaving. So then, anyway, she leaves, and she does have one of the weapons, I guess that rocket, that they gave it a name, like a whirly thing or something like that. I forgot what they called it, but
yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
Right? Remember, they gave some weird name to what that weird missile thing but she had one. Michonne had one. So she's in front of a herd. She shoots in the foreground, so then that way it draws their attention. But then in the middle, there's one guy walking, one walker walking, and that's what we saw at the intro of the episode, right? All on fire and stuff. And he looks like he had some bombs or something attached to him because he exploded. A piece hit her off her horse. She falls, makes a scream. That alerts all the walkers that were there. They turn around like, oh no, there's fresh meat here. And that's where right there, I'm still baffled because from what we've always shown in all the other Walking Deads, and we're taught pretty much, is that if they see you, they smell you, you are fresh meat. They will go to you. Doesn't matter if there's a noise behind them. Their whole thing about is for food, right? It's that mental thing of eating. They keep thinking that they need to eat, and they can smell you, which is why if you're trying to go through a horde of walkers, you put the walker guts on you, you smell bad like them, they're distracted. I just didn't understand how just because they heard a noise in the back that they would all stop like, oh, well, let's just leave that fresh one on the horse alone. Because if it's not her, they can smell the horse. But whatever. So they turn around and they start heading over to her way, and it's like, oh, this is it. Is she gonna die? Of course not. She's not gonna die, right? So we see Aiden and Bailey and Natty. They're there. They set off some bombs again, also and off in the distance to split up the herd. And it's like, all right, look, we split it up. Now we can get out of here. And it's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, we decided to take you up on that offer. We want to help you out. We want to leave, and we got a whole bunch of other people. That other people crew, which they don't even talk to, and we never really see. It reminds me of the crew that went to the prison in season 2. Remember on the bus?
No, yeah, on the bus, yeah.
Yeah, we don't ever see them. We see them once on the bus, and then that's it. Just use your imagination that there's a lot of people in this prison, and they're all gonna die. So that's what reminds me here, because they show the caravan, they show off in the distance, like, oh, what about all the, yeah, and they're there here too. They all followed me, and then I followed you, but none of them play a major part in all of this. So before I go any further, what did you think of this whole scene of the group, the new friends, this new weapon and the herd and just how we were introduced to this new crew. Rich?
I actually didn't have a problem with how they introduced these new characters. I'm appreciative of them taking time to explain some of the backstory of the characters, so you could understand why they had a connection with Michonne, even though they had just met Michonne. You understand why that was the case. The weapon made sense because they had to explain, as we saw in the first episode when Okafor got killed because of that weapon. We need to see where that came from. So I didn't have an issue with that. And pretty much just the whole idea of them leaving the community behind to follow Michonne. I think it made sense because, again, she had already had a bit of a connection from having saved the sister previously. So I didn't have any issues with any of that stuff, actually. I thought it was pretty straightforward. Normally I'm one of the main people that will criticize and say Scott Gimple he messes up a lot of stuff. I didn't have an issue with this particular part of the episode.
The one major issue I had is that, as we just said, Natty creates these weapons. That's a valuable asset of the community. And this leader of the caravan just lets them go, didn't realize this person's gone. You know what I mean? It seems like this is a valuable resource that you would want to keep. And I was like, I agree. The conflict. I figured this is where the conflict's going to start. They're going to be on their own way, and all of a sudden, all the soldiers or whoever is with the caravan is going to come after them, and there's going to be a battle or some sort.
Well, I will say, yes, that is a problem, but it is consistent because she also didn't care that her sister got saved either. So I feel like that character was just there just to present the idea that this community has some issues. And it makes you understand why the other characters wanted to leave the community in the first place.
You had any issues, Carlos?
I just felt they could have done a better job. I understand a lot of this is really sped up. The whole, okay, Michonne saved you. We meet with a sister kind of leader type person. And then now we stay at night. We convince Michonne to stay at night. And then we're now with Michonne, all in a span of a couple of scenes.
But at night, that turns into 6 years, because remember, that was still 6 years ago.
No. It was a night.
No, it was a night. But then when it continues, when we get into it with Natty and stuff, remember when you were saying how you see the seasons pass?
Oh yeah.
But
what I'm saying is just the part where, they're making the decisions to leave the group. Like I felt like just saying that we don't go back for the people that get stranded. Well, it's bad within itself, but I just feel like I wish they could have shown something else that kind of made it like more apparent. Like, it makes sense why they left. In all honesty, like Natty looked like he was living the life with the group. He established relationships with people and got to do his little crafts and little bombs and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it would have been better if they showed another scene where they showed why the group is like not good to stay with, other than just like, they left me for dead.
Yeah. I'm hoping that later on we'll get more with that caravan and that leader, and it'll come to play at some point. Because there's some other little inconsistencies with the storytelling for this. Because as we get to the next part, now that new group with Michonne and Aiden and Bailey and Natty and then the rest of the followers are en route to where they already had explained to her was a death sentence, right? They said, you don't go there. For some reason, the herd seems to migrate to that point every season. And then plus there's some bad stuff going on. They don't explain it, though. They don't say, by the way, there's this military force or this and that. I'm not even sure if they even know about the CRM yet. They don't really go into detail explaining what's so bad in the direction of where Michonne has to go. But anyway, as they're en route, we see a helicopter go over, and as it's passing, it stops and makes a Yui, and they're like, oh, wow, look at that. And then all of a sudden, it starts dropping bombs. And it wasn't until after, when we saw that post clip, you hear someone screaming chlorine gas. I don't know if that's the first thing I would have screamed if I see bombs falling, unless I know this has happened before. You know, I've seen this before. So maybe someone else was part of a community that the CRM saw and dropped. And then we learn also in post when they were talking about the breakdown of this episode over on AMC Plus, is that they were really close to Philadelphia, and that the CRM, once they see a caravan really close, this is what they do as defense. And even Rick had to discuss this later on, and we'll get into later. But that there's another group in red that go out and do some stuff and come back covered in blood. But he's never been on those trips and doesn't know. But this is the problem I have, is that if they have a city, as we know, and we from last episode, and they put people there, the A's and the B's, and they do that, how do you get more of the B's? More, or was it the A's or and more of the B's, if you don't interview them, if you don't bring them in and have like the Commonwealth system where they would interrogate, they ask questions, they see where you fit, what's your skills. It's just gassing them and killing them. That doesn't help your population grow in any way. So that didn't make much sense, especially when you don't see them walking around with guns and weapons and stuff. So it clearly looked like just people. So that's what bothered me when I saw that, and then I heard the explanation at the end of why it happened. Like, that why doesn't work for me, because if you're building a community, a safe city, and you want people that can provide a service, then you interview them, you talk to them. You don't just start gassing them. So I don't know. Is it just me, Carlos? Am I overthinking, or it made sense of how they explained why the CRM just gassed them?
Well, it doesn't make sense, but I give it some leeway, because I mean, Rick mentioned during the show that this is particularly the red unit or something like that. He mentioned the ones in red.
It was like the ones in red that go out and do these things. No one knows really what they do. They just go out there, come back covered in blood.
Yeah. So as far as we know, we're only privy to the stuff that Rick does, and then his unit, which is a separate one than the one that gas these people up. So I'll still give it some leeway, some buffer before they can explain, hopefully, why they're so ruthless and why they just blindly, try to kill people.
You know what? This will say this is real quick, Rich. See if you get this too. This shows my mindset and how old I am. When I saw that happen, the first thing that popped in my head is Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Running Man. Because if you remember Arnold and the Running Man, he's the captain of the ship, and he was going down, and it was like, all right, what's this? Oh, it's a bunch of people protesting. They're just hungry. Yeah, you're authorized to open fire. What? They're just people. They're hungry. I can't. I see women and children. We gave you an order, sir. You have to go and shoot. No, I'm not doing that. He starts fighting and stuff, and that's eventually how he ends up on the Running Man. And then they edited the whole thing saying that the butcher of Bakersfield, and that he wanted to kill them. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's got to be someone who's flying around. I was like, what do you see? It's like, well, I just see like women, children. There's a caravan of people. Shoot them, gas them. What? No. In my mind, there's somebody arguing, in the helicopter. Go ahead, Rich.
That's a funny comparison. I understand that. Well, here's what my thought is that, first and foremost, to address the comment you made earlier about them revisiting the storyline with the caravan and the sister, I actually don't think they are going to do any of that, because these characters have served their purpose to reunite Rick and Michonne. Clearly, Rick and Michonne have a bigger issue, and that is trying to escape. I think that's the storyline for the rest of the season. As for them bombing, they told us in the previous episode that there were these teams that were bombing cities. So I mean, all of this is designed to paint the picture of the CRM as monsters. So they're not going to stop and interrogate any of these people. If they see them heading closer to where their base of operations are, they're going to try and stop that. They're not going to ask them, hey, wait a second, why are you coming here? No, they're not going to do that. These guys are in positions of power. So I didn't have an issue with that, because they need to emphasize these are ruthless people that will do whatever they want to do at any time.
My question for you then is, how do you think they get new members to the city? How does that happen?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I would assume they're going to explain some of this stuff. And of course, as you guys mentioned, this other group that they are going to talk about that does even more dangerous stuff, we're probably going to learn more about those characters as well as we get deeper into the season. But I think coming into the first episode of the season, we wasn't supposed to get everything. We're seeing things from Rick's point of view. We don't understand all of the bad stuff that the CRM does. We have an idea of it based on the conversation he had with Okafor, but there's obviously more stuff they're going to uncover. They're just going to take their time to tell us that. Now that we're into the third episode next week, I think we'll get more answers. But for right now, I think they had to emphasize, as you said, as the producer said in post, they want to emphasize and show the conflict. Michonne does not like these people because what they did killed her friends. And then, of course, you saw what happened later in the episode when Nat got killed by one of the officers in his final shot. So they're telling you the story that Rick and Michonne are reunited. Rick is telling Michonne we need to escape. But the entire time, Michonne is angry. She wants to get revenge. And Rick, I think, is just saying, well, we need to escape. We can't stop them. We just need to escape. And that's what the story is they're telling now from here on out.
All right. So, in fact, let's get to that point. So, once the chlorine gas hits, of course, all the extras that we don't really know part of Kevin, they're all dead. They all died, right? Sad. Bailey, she's dead. She turns, whole thing. Michonne survived, had to put her down. Boyfriend, same thing, was about to kill Natty, got rid of that one. Natty looked like he was on his way out, but nope, he survives. And they kept moving. And they found an oxygen tank somewhere. I don't know where they were, unless I missed the sign that said hospital or something. But that way they can get some fresh air because their lungs are burning up. But that's, as you pointed out, Carlos, and maybe the show forgot. Because at the beginning of this episode, it said 6 years. They could have thrown 6 months later, 1 year later, something. Because it clearly shows seasons changing, time is passing, Michonne's doing push-ups, Natty's getting back into health and building bombs and other little rockets and things like that. Because that was the other thing. They had to go back to get the cart to get all the supplies. But clearly a lot of time has passed. So if it was 6 years and he was only with she was only with the caravan, Michonne, for 1 day, that means the rest of that for 6 years, it was just Natty and Michonne, right? That's what it's saying. And that's a long trip.
No.
Wait, all right.
I think there's some confusion. When the episode started, it said this is 6 years after what happened on the bridge. So in realistic time, y'all mentioned the seasons past. That's maybe like 1 year. Maybe it's in within a 1 year. All this stuff happened once Michonne got to meet Natty and all the others. It wasn't 6 years. This happened before. That 6 year stuff happened prior. This is after what happened with Rick. That's why they kept showing again when Rick was on the bridge.
6 years after the bridge, and then after the bridge, because then after that, remember, there was, I guess, because then within the 6 years, and then that would be RJ, right, Rick Jr., so that would make him 6 when she left, and then that's what's going on. So I don't know. So then I'm trying to do the math of how long was it just Michonne and Natty before, because time was passing, but they weren't leaving. It didn't look like they left that location because they were always still in that same area.
It has to be at least several months to a year, because it wasn't 6 years. Because again,
I know it looked like too crazy when I saw that. I was like, wait, how is all this time? And especially in post when they're like, oh, they bombed them because they were so close. Well, it could have been that close.
Well, I will say they definitely could have told you this is the time now, how much time that had passed. But I mean, I guess you would have to refer to the previous episode of Rick to get an idea of how much time has passed. And then maybe it will answer some questions. But again, I knew all this happened after Rick was supposedly killed. So that's why I said, okay, well, it couldn't have been that much time that has passed now that Michonne was with these people. It had to be within a year. That's what I would say. or a couple of months to within a year.
Yeah, I feel like one of the timelines for those that watch multiple series from The Walking Dead, I feel like the right timeline to follow is the Fear one, where they made it clear, like, oh, it's like it's been this long since the first events, and then 7 years after Padre
Yep.
stuff, and it's like that after when that ended, that's the present day.
Mm-hmm.
See, so the different
Oh, yeah.
now to now. Because when it said now, where were they at that point? Because that was the other thing. It said then, and then it said now.
I think that's maybe 7 to 8 years after the bridge. So the bridge incident happened 6 years afterwards. The Michonne show started. You know, we saw at the beginning of this episode, the Michonne went off and met up with these people. And I feel like after she met up with them, and then after she went through the attack, I feel like it's been maybe a year or two after that.
Okay. All right. See, people, this can get complicated when they don't put the dates. I remember there was that one episode that just had Daryl and what was it, the girlfriend? I forgot her name. Wasn't June. It was I'm blanking on her name. It's been so long. But with Dog, when he found Dog, and they were doing that whole timeline of spending time with the woman in the woods, and it was saying 2 months before, 3 months, 6 months. It was doing all the numbers. It was keeping track. Would have been great if we had some numbers here keeping track, but instead of just now. Like, now is what? What is now? 2 years later now from then, or whatever. But anyway. They're now walking in the field, still heading to that direction, and they're talking, and they have the caravan, and they have a walker attached, pulling the cart like a mule. It's pretty cool set up there. It's another little callback to the way Michonne had her little walkers chained up, remember? When we first were introduced to Michonne. But then, ta-da, here comes the helicopter, right? So Natty's like, nope, we're not going to have this happen again. I'm going to take this down one of my rockets. And then shoots the rocket, and pow, there we go. And the helicopter starts twirling and goes down. These are very cheap rockets, and this is a very cheap plane. And then you can make a bomb to go off this way and then just drop a helicopter. I mean, it was just an amazing shot. We know that much because of who got, our boy that got caught, shot right there while he was. And I still think he was flying the plane. I know you, Carlos, you said that Rick was flying this thing. I could have been a co-pilot. I don't know.
Well,
it's just
usually these types of devices have multiple pilots.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, you took control.
Yeah,
but it's just so funny. It's so funny. But then we hear everybody in the background screaming on the helicopter. Right, so they crash, and then Michonne was like, "All right, I'm gonna go get closer. I'm gonna help take this out." He's like, "All right," and it's Nanny. I'm gonna take him out from a distance. I'm gonna cover you. So he's shooting more rockets, and we're seeing all kinds of stuff going on, blowing up. It's a little mini war, So she runs over, and then this answers the question that we brought up, or at least I know I did. I brought up in the last episode. It's like we didn't see her in the distance pulling off their masks and their helmets and then killing them. We just heard them like and getting killed, and then seeing footsteps and then legs in the background and go to another one and do the same thing. But it looks like she wanted to see their eyes because of like what they did, and like, oh, now you caused death, and now I'm bringing death to you, and she would slice their throats and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, that answers that. So it wasn't a one-off of like, I'm just going to look at your face. No, she was doing it for all of them. But thankfully, he wasn't wearing a ski mask underneath. The other ones were, but he wasn't. So when she took the helmet off, that's all he had, his face. And she saw him, and then we get that special moment, and she takes a step back. She can't believe what she's seeing, and he's looking at her. He can't believe it, and then there you go. They embrace. Before I go any further, is this cool? I mean, did it bring the emotions out? Because I think that's the point here. We're supposed to bring the emotions now. Now we see from her side. We saw from his side. Do you feel it?
I do feel it. I believe that Carlos was very emotional when he saw that embrace. We heard him crying tears of joy on the other side. But no,
Michonne needs to
but
stop crying. That crying, oh Lord, something about that. It's just too high pitch. I just can't. That it makes me want to laugh.
Well,
I want to laugh, and I'm not supposed to laugh.
Oh no, I understand that. Well, let me just say this. This is the type of reaction I expected from last week when you saw them first face to face, and then they delayed it to this week.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say this again, like you had asked the question of why she was, why would she just go up to Rick and without checking to see who it was? I mean, again, this shows why we have to wait to see how the storyline plays out, because they explained in this episode why Michonne did that and why she was killing each of these individual guys, and then she got to Rick. So it made more sense, and you also understood the motivation because they had killed her friends in this episode. So again, we have to see how the storyline plays out. There's probably explanations for some things. We already know they're not going to explain everything, but I assume there's going to be other stuff explained. But as far as this particular moment, I think a lot of people will really love to see that this reunion happened. The way it was like very emotionally charged. But again, what happens after that? Those people might be, they're gonna be heartbroken. But that, I mean, I laughed when I saw what happened afterward. But we'll get into that.
So, Carlos, when you wiped away the tears,
Yeah.
what did you think of this moment? Did it satisfy the need? Do you think the Walking Dead universe are going to get the feels? Because that's what this was all about, bringing that feels. This is it. This is what they've been waiting for all these years. Those other bad seasons where Rick was just out there and not part of it, and then Michonne leaving her kids. Does this bring everything together for you?
Yeah, it's been like 10 years in the making. It feels like at this point.
It feels like with the time jumps and stuff. Yeah,
it's been a while. Yeah, it got executed as well as it could have, because I feel like a lot of the reasons why they couldn't have been together, it was contractual and the other different types of jobs and stuff. But yeah, the way they did it, I felt like it was pretty good. Don't have any complaints. Yeah, they kissed a lot, man.
Oh,
damn,
it was sucking face. But
it
you know what?
like,
It makes sense, and I like that they threw the passion in that, because it's been years. Think about that. Your spouse, you haven't seen him in years. He's over here having these weird fantasies that he's seeing her on a bench and all this stuff. And it was like, oh man, here she is in front of me, and she's been tracking him down. She left her kids to find him. And remember, throughout the whole first part of the episode, she's still on the fence. Was this a good idea? Should she go back? People are telling her, this is with the chlorine attack. This is why you just go appreciate the life that you have. Go back to your kids. Stop chasing this dream that you're going to find this husband of yours. But it paid off, and that's where also when she grabs him and starts crying, and like, is it the tears of joy is like, you're real, this happened, and I also liked with the writing here, because as a parent, this would be my first question is, how is the kids? And for the singular for him, because he still doesn't know about RJ. But he said, how's Judith? What's good? She's like, oh, she's good. Everything is okay. It's here. No, not here. No. Oh, okay. It's just freaking out, because there's so much you want to know. But where's this kid? I don't know. I was still thrown off that she didn't mention. I was like, all right, yeah, I guess at the moment there, don't bring it up, but we'll get to it. Why it doesn't get brought up again? But we're gonna say something.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Rich.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Real quick, because I know I'm going to forget. So I need to ask this real quick. Do you guys feel like this will be a point of contention in the future? Like,
What's that?
It's like Michonne keeping the details of her having her
I'm thinking about to say, because I know we're gonna bring this up when it comes up again, and that's when I got pissed even more. When they're in the go ahead.
I do believe that will be a point of contention. I'll say more on that when we get to the point that Adam was going to make. I just want to make a quick point before I forget, to piggyback off of what Adam said. When Rick asked the question, like, how is she? How is Judith? Yes, I felt that. And I also was glad that they had at the beginning of this episode, Michonne acknowledge and say, "Oh, I have to get back. I have to get back to my family." Like yes, she does need to find Rick, but she also needs to get back to her kids. So obviously they are both concerned about their kids, because I know we had jokes that it feels like they just don't care about their kids. You have Daryl and Carol taking care of the kids. So they do have some concern, but it will not be easy just getting back there, obviously, now with the situation they're involved in.
And then throughout this episode, they showed Michonne doing her little call on the radio, and saying, "Mommy loves you, I love you," whole thing. Not sure if it communication because of the distance. He says she's too far out, the range isn't there, but she had, I guess, had told him the frequency. I don't remember that part, but I think they showed that also in the opening montage. It was like I had told Judith about the frequency. Stay on. I would reach you on this one. And so, hey, if it works, it works. I do like that it constantly get brought up, and maybe some people are like, "Oh, why they keep bringing it?" It's great because they are parents, and as a parent, that's the one thing that's always on your mind. How are my kids? How are they doing? Where are they at? So it's great that that's the first thing that Rick says, and when asking about what's going on, it's like not so much of what are you doing here, or why did you shoot me down, or how did you wake, or what's going? No, all right, where's Judith? Is she part of this crew? Did we? So that was great. So now let's get into it. I feel that at this point, with the showrunners and the writers, particularly, they're like, all right, we got over the hump. This was the hump, right? Everyone wants to know how this is going to happen, when it was going to happen. Well, this is it. How, the when, the where, the what, that's all under the bridge now. Now, where does this show go? And this is, I was surprised. I was really surprised because I thought that at that point, because remember, his whole thing, Rick, was I'm trying to escape, right? I want to leave. I want to escape. He decides to take his buddy's advice and join the military CRM just so he could try to escape. So here it is. Boom. You found Michonne. She shot you down from the sky, and there she is in front of you. And she's like, let's go. Let's leave. He hears other helicopters in the distance. And it was weird, I guess, with how with the writing here and the choice that they decided to go in, where it's like, oh no, he almost seemed like as if he was brainwashed. No, we can't go. They're gonna find us. We have to stay here. You gotta forget everything that you know and all this stuff. Just keep it to yourself. Don't tell them. Don't tell them your name. Don't tell them about Alexandria. Don't say anything. I found you. And she's looking at him like confused, like, what are you talking about? But I know I'm jumping a little ahead because there was at one point, it was somewhere in between that, but when Natty sees, and I really thought Natty was going to attack him, because it's like when you see them grabbing and the crying that she was making, I was like, oh, she's in danger. It's like, oh, he's going to shoot. How dare you, CRM evil man, hurting my friend. But no, he's there and he's happy. He's like, oh, is that him? Is that him? Like, yeah, but he's not one of them. Well, he's wearing their suit. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. But before he could even argue any of that stuff, he gets shot by one of the other CRMs who is on his last breath. It was a final shot.
So let me make a quick comment. The actor that played Natty did a great job in the episode. However, I did laugh when this happened because we saw that there were multiple officers that when they kept shooting with the explosions, there were multiple people that went down. When Michonne and Rick embraced, I expected one of them to see what was happening and take a shot at Michonne. But of course, they're not going to do that. They just had they just reunited. So of course, there had to be someone else that would happen to, and it happened to Natty. So that's why I laughed, because it's like, come on now, that's ridiculous. But it is what it is.
The past is in the past, and that whole caravan ride and the friends are all gone. They're all just memories. That was it. Natty gets shot. Hey, if you want, we can still argue with that. What if he did try to shoot Michonne, but then Natty got in the way? Because you remember when Natty falls, it's the guy's riding back, so it sort of looks like a straight shot to where Michonne is. So maybe Natty just stepped in the way, and the down CRM guy couldn't do much because he can't move. He's underground, like, and then once that's done, Rick goes off to handle business, I guess, finish it off, right? We don't see that or hear that, but we do hear the heart-to-heart with Natty and Michonne, and Natty's just saying, like, is it really him? Do you still see him in there? Like, hey, you sure you're not being fooled and double crossed? It's like, no, it's him. He's a good one. And I'm like, all right, then there you go. That's sad. It's really sad. It would have been cool to have somebody from that journey continue on with them. Because I remember at one point she even gave her Natty the map locations to go back to Alexandria. Like, hey, you just go there and then I'll meet up with you. And you're like, no, it makes no sense that you go and I go. No. You should be going back. But
I agree. Well, go ahead, Carlos.
I just feel like it would have been cool to have someone that dealt with weapons and stuff like that. You saw him with the purple bombs and those little things that he killed Okafor with. I felt like it would have been cool to have a character just like someone if they are going to build something,
weapons and traps and stuff like that. Yeah, it definitely throws a new element to the show.
I agree. It would have been good to keep the character around. Also because he also has the motivation to take out these people from within. But they would have had to try and switch up the story once again because he's then served the purpose as being the one who he is the one that orchestrated this attack and all this other stuff. So I don't know how that would have worked out if he was still involved. But yeah.
So here's a question. Do you think they're going to say that he taught Michonne how to make these bombs, these rockets, and other traps? You think they're going to try to still implement the gadgets and all that stuff, like when they try to do the fighting against CRM? Do you think that's what they're going to pull up?
You did see that she had his lighter at the end of the episode, the same lighter he had, as I guess as to basically tell the viewer that she will carry on the legacy of this character because they couldn't make it. So I get that, but yeah, if she's able to use those weapons, because again, all eyes are on her, so I don't know how she would be in a position to do any of that stuff. At least not right now. So we have to see how it plays out.
All right, and we'll get to that now. So they get to the caravan. He grabs this is Rick with Michonne. He grabs her sword. He puts it in there. He's like, no, we're just gonna say this is all his stuff. All right, you gotta come up with a story. She's like, what are you talking? Let's just get away. No, we can't understand. We're gonna get separated. I'll find you. We'll figure this out. We're gonna escape together. I love you. Everything's gonna be fine. He's talking crazy. He's talking really crazy. And I was confused. And he's like, oh, wait, I got to point my gun at you. You got to come up with a different name. And then all this stuff. And then sure enough, the helicopter, really nice scene. I love that shot where you see the helicopter lowering right in front of them. And next scene is that she's getting interrogated. And I was like, yeah, you're interrogating this one. Why couldn't you do that with all the other ones? Whatever. And she has the name Dana. She gives, we know someone named Dana. That was so crazy. And
small world.
Yeah, right. So it's asking questions. What were you doing? How did you survive this long? I had a bow staff. There's a callback to Morgan. And then I couldn't do this, and I did that, and then I'm just trying to find my way. And then this place. What do you think of this place? This is great. If we're all here, this is great. Oh, I'm so happy. That's just me just going into it. But that's pretty much it. She followed what Rick said. And it's like, hey, just play real naive at all thing, and that you were lost and now you're found. Go with that. And they will accept you and bring you in because they don't want leaders. And he had told her that. So don't say, yeah, I led a community. Oh, I'm on a hunt for this. And that's like, no, you're a go-getter. We don't want that. We don't want the go-getters here. We want people that just want to live, which again still doesn't make sense if you have a big city, because you still have to have people that are managers or shopkeepers or engineers. You still need people that can think. So I don't understand if you have all these people that are just mindless, like just tell me what to do. It doesn't. I want to see the city is what I'm getting at. I want to see the city and the people that are in the city. Who are these people?
Who are you?
Right? Who are you? So you guys are okay with that? It made sense, the interrogation?
Yeah, I felt like the rest of the episode was pretty straightforward and made sense. I liked how especially even before that, when Rick gave her the sort of the things where he's like, oh, you make sure that you change your name to a different name, don't mention Alexandria, get rid of all these things, and this is how the story goes. I like that part. The only thing, and obviously we don't know how much time's passed, but I'm like, yo, Rick, you really waited. You waited less than a second before she got to the place to go get her in secret.
Oh,
So you could have waited a week or something to make things a little bit less suspicious.
Hey, Carlos, Carlos, it has been a long time since Rick. It's been a long time. So that's what happened.
Yep. And then there's that, and she was just roaming around afterwards. It wasn't like we're gonna put you in holding until we figure out what to do with you. She had free roam of this military base. Because remember, that's what this is. This is a military base. She's not in the city yet. So I found that kind of weird, and you see her walking around, and then sure enough, Rick comes with his helmet and puts her into like this little room, almost look like a library, right? Like books and everything. And then he just start going at it. He missed her. And while they're doing all that, right? That's when he also gives her the lighter. That is lighter. He's like, oh, this is your friends and this whole thing. You were going to say something?
Yeah. So let me make a quick comment real fast about this idea that Rick has to continue to stay and play nice with, to try to figure out something from within. I think in the first episode, they emphasize multiple times that people are not able to really escape the CRM. And I think where the weakness of that episode is that you got to see a little bit of Rick having a relationship with Okafor, but it wasn't to the point where he actually cared about what Okafor was doing to try to revolt against the system. We didn't really get a full development of that because Rick wasn't really talking to anybody. He was just, let me follow the orders and let me just do whatever. And then it wasn't until right before Okafor got killed, he started talking again and he had a lot more to say. But at that point, it was too late. So what I feel is that Okafor obviously had a lot of faith in Rick, but you didn't really see and understand why Rick would even have the idea to take them down from the inside. And that's why I say I understood when he saw Michonne, he's like, okay, no, we need to continue to play by the rules, whatever. But I would like to see what his plan is because clearly he better have a plan.
Well, his original plan with all the dog tag and the hand and the fire could have worked here. That's the thing that bothers me. Is like just take your hand off, chuck it in the fire near the plane, and your dog tag, chuck that there, and then say, all right, now we're free. Let's go skip into the woods. And he didn't do that. Instead, it's like, no, we're gonna go back. Don't worry, we'll figure our way out. You just spent 6 years stuck there and couldn't figure a way out. Now you got your wife stuck there. What's gonna happen? Because think about it. If they don't recruit her part of the CRM, they're gonna either put her up on the wall, right, to do the tether thing to kill, right? Or they're gonna send her into the city. Either way, she's out. She's not part of the group. Why?
Yep.
Why
I agree.
Bring her into that? That didn't make any sense, and that's why it upset me. But I guess they figured this is how the story is going to progress, because then even when we're there, we're like, oh, he must have a plan to destroy them from the inside out. And she says that. Well, someone says it, like, oh, we're going to take them down. They're bad people. We can do it. He's like, no, we can't do that.
Yep.
What am I here for?
And I feel that now because, we all knew, I believe we all knew that Jadis was going to figure out what was happening and get involved. We all knew this before we saw the character because we knew that she knows who Rick is. She knows who Michonne is. So obviously now he's going to have to think about, he really is going to have to do something at this point. But obviously with Jadis right there, it poses an issue. And the one thing I was going to also add, when you asked the question, well, Carlos asked that question earlier, if the fact that Michonne never brought up Rick Jr. was going to be an issue later, yes, because Jadis does not know about that character. So if she knows about that character, she can use that against Rick as well, because she already knows about Judith.
Yeah.
So that's why I said
now. Yeah, because while they're in that little smooching section there, and he says, so Judith, everything is good. Like, yeah, oh, and there's something Yeah, well, he's like, what? Tell me. We'll talk about it later on. This is the best time to say, by the way, we reproduced. We have another child, and that other child's there. I mean, if I'm pretty sure, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. That even if this was his plan, like, hey, when we're back on in that fielded area, and saying, oh no, we got to play nights. Judith is okay to get, but we also have a younger one, our kid. Well, what? 2 kids? Take the hand and chuck it into the fire. You know what I mean? It's like, no. I don't know. And that's why it bothers me. So if it's going to be something later cause issue, I do, because I don't know why. That would have been the best time in a little private smooching session to say, all right, listen, we have Judith's farm, but we have another kid.
I agree, but if they did that and Rick somehow decided to chuck his hand and then he left with Michonne, the show is over. The other 4 episodes, there's no need for the other 4 episodes.
No. Oh, well, they could have been no. They could have definitely kept going. You know how? Because with the Jada situation, because we know that Jada saw the interrogation. But let's rewind. Let's say it went down my road where he says, all right, let's go. Let's just run off. So then they find out about the caravan. They have a group come down. Jada is part of that group. Takes a look. Like, what's all this? Oh, there's helicopter. And then she sees the sword that's in the caravan. Yeah. I'm like,
that makes sense.
I know who did this. And then they hunt him down.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I felt like another alternative and kind of maybe a little bit similar to Adam's and what actually happened in the story. It's like just Rick puts Michonne as hostage, be like, hey, found this person. The other helicopter gets out, and he's like, and then they take that helicopter out, and then they go on the helicopter and escape.
Hey, under your idea, Rick knows how to fly a helicopter. So there you go. And I was like, oh, I'll fly us back. And then, next he hands a gun off to Michonne, who's in the back, and she pops up all, and then they fly to Alexandria. Then the show's over. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, I think that would have been a good alternative. Obviously, I guess they want to take a scenic route with the storytelling because they're emphasizing that Rick and Michonne, now it's not just about escaping. We need to take out the CRM also. And obviously they are outnumbered. So I would like to know what the hell type of plan it is they're going to have to try to get out of this situation.
I don't know. That I don't know. And then of course we get to the ending now. We had saw that clearly somebody was watching the interrogation of Michonne and then drinking some whiskey. And then Rick gets back to his room and there's Jadis. She has a new name. I forgot her name in the world beyond. They dropped the Jadis thing, but we know her as Jadis. So she's there. She's upset. She was like, what's going on? I know that was Michonne. It's amazing. Out of all people out here, she found you. And it is. And then they drop the F-bomb, and that's a big whoa, because it's Walking Dead. But they've been doing a lot of that in the Daryl show as well. So, and it's like, what's your plan? Basically what she was asking. What do you plan on doing? Because this was not the deal. She was not part of the deal. Well, what's this deal? I don't know this deal. I don't think Rick knows this deal, or else he wouldn't try to escape a bunch of times. Because I want to know what this deal. Because she's basically now saying that if they try to escape or do something, she's going to kill everyone that he loves, and even the people that she liked that was part of that crew, because she liked some of the people there. Which is also interesting of when people talk about character development. How that character was just a loony. Remember painting pictures with a bunch of walkers around in a scrapyard. And it was all for what? It was for show because she was really part of the CRM. It was nuts.
And we saw her get promoted in World Beyond. So now this character, they definitely developed her a long way.
Yeah, a long way. And I'm telling you, after the comments with Gimple about getting all the characters from the other universes together, he definitely would like to see that happen. I absolutely see that happening here because the kids from World Beyond could definitely fit in because they were smart kids and their dad was working on different research to get rid of the virus and then to resolve things. And remember, and then they made it to a community. So I could definitely see those kids coming back in some way, especially the other kids that are still with the CRM. You know, when another branch comes in, or who knows, maybe one of them is stationed there at that location. That'll be cool. Morgan, definitely, we got to see Morgan when they did the little callback of the staff and stuff. And it's like, that'll be great to see. He's out there. They're going to need some help, is what I'm getting at. These two can't pull an army of two and destroy the CRM from the inside. It's not going to work. Not going to work. And if escaping, and he keeps saying, we're going to escape. We're going to find a way to escape. It's like, I want to see. This reminds me of, like, if you ever watched that old show, Prison Break. Anybody here watching Prison Break? Do you remember that first season? Man, that first season was the best season of any of those type of shows. For the brother to get captured, bring himself in prison, and they're like, well, how are you going to get out? Now you're stuck here with me. And he lifts up his shirt, and he's got the whole blueprint of the prison tattooed on his back. I was like, what the hell? Oh, man. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go. And remember, this is pretty much, I would call it a limited run series. There's only 6 episodes. You know, I'm sure we.
Oh, it's only 6?
It's only 6.
Thought it was 8 for some reason.
Is it 8?
No, I just assumed it. Like I
No, it's 6.
Yeah, it's
the
6.
same format. 6 episodes.
Yeah. And you know they're gonna do the same thing like they did with the
it's
other
it's a British dozen.
Yeah, British dozen. That's pretty much what it is. And you know they're gonna say, "Oh, don't worry, it got renewed for a second season." What? You know, how about you try to finish the first season? Oh, because they're not gonna be able to finish this. You know, we're definitely gonna get a cliffhanger. I think we're gonna see almost all our favorites, especially from the Commonwealth. It's gonna involve everybody to try to do something here, and it's gonna be. It all depends. Definitely that this is not going to end here, but it makes me wonder if this could be a long-running show. I don't know if it can. And now is the issue I had with Prison Break. And I keep referring to Prison Break because it's the same type of deal. You're inside trying to get out. And it's like, all right, we're going to build the whole show of how do you get out? Well, eventually they got out and then they got locked up in another prison. And then they had to escape that prison. So here, when they get out, do you just keep having where now they're running from the CRM? And doing that, it doesn't go. As remember, then it's taking away from what the show is about, which is The Walking Dead. You are surviving and you're trying to make the best of it and get away from the dead as long as some of the living. But they've always had a different big bad for every season. Then the big bad for this would always be the CRM, just different bosses of the CRM. And I don't know if that'll work. But you know what? I'm jumping ahead. This is it. We're already in episode 2. So we got 4 more episodes for this season, and I'm interested. I like that it's back in this way. I mean, it's okay. I mean, they got over the hump. They're reunited, and now they're together at the CRM place. And from what we saw with the teaser, it looks like they're going to incorporate the other woman from South Africa. I'm blanking on her name. I'm horrible with names. Remember the soldier?
Was it Jade or
no?
Am I confusing it with someone else?
No, it's someone else. It's another, but someone in the comment. You guys know what I'm talking about. South African.
We only met her for like half an episode before like we went to commission and stuff. So
but she's there. They show her. It looks like she's going to get involved and figure things out and help. And we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. But overall, it's good. I mean, they could have gone different routes, but you know what? They already passed that hump. This is where they're at. Now it's a escape mission. So I'm tied in. I want to see where it goes. And people are like, yeah, well, you do a Walking Dead podcast. Of course you're going to be. No. We didn't like World Beyond, and we bitched at every episode of that one. But I'm not bitching about this one. It's got some issues here and there. Every episode does. Every show does. Nothing's perfect. But it's not a dead end. It could be very entertaining to see how they put this together and incorporate new characters. And who knows, bring back some other characters that we haven't seen in a while. You know, like we just talked about Morgan and others. We can easily just say that Morgan got picked up and he's now living in the city because he was en route with his daughter, remember, with Mo. So he just said he was trying to get to them, and we never heard him actually say in the last episode from In Fear that he made it. How crazy would it be if we see Madison We see Madison
Uh-oh.
and they do that whole time. They could too, because last time we saw them, they were en route.
Madison and the kids.
What about your favorite character, Rich? What you call? Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. That he's got all these movie roles now. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, too many characters. Oh, come on. He was the bad guy. They kept flip flopping. Oh, there's a bunch. Oh, this is bothering me. Well, Daniel and others. Anyway, there's plenty of other characters that
Strand.
Strand. There you go. We could
Yep.
see Strand. There are so many other characters that can come up with that they can tie in, because in all those other spinoffs, they all went riding off into the sunset. They didn't have horrible endings. They didn't all die. In fact, almost no one pretty much died in the Fear one. Remember, we were like, "Oh, what the hell? This is crazy." Even the ones that were dead came back to life. Like magic. So yeah, I could see a lot happening with this show, and all hands on deck to help get them out, or maybe some people are in there, and it could be interesting. I don't know. Maybe Negan gets involved later on, but we do know maybe not know, because there is another season of Dead City that's coming. Daryl is still in France, so we're not going to see him for a while. Same with Carol. So I don't know, but either way, it's going to be entertaining. I'm excited. I like the show. What about you, Rich? What do you have to say about the final thoughts with this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. It's a good show so far. Definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in the next 4 episodes.
Carlos? Oh, Carlos? Did we lose Carlos?
I think he had to step out for a second.
Oh, he probably did.
I just got back.
Oh, there we go.
Later, people.
Oh,
Wait, are we ending?
Oh, I just saw the message in the chat. My bad. No. Just any final thoughts on the episode? We both agreed, Rich and I, that we like this episode. I mean, it's going somewhere. The story's going somewhere. It's not garbage. So,
out of all the spin-offs, I feel like this has been the best one for me. It's more straightforward than the other ones, so it's harder to mess up than the other ones. Dead
the
City,
acting's definitely better. I definitely like the acting. Yeah.
The acting, the production, the quality, and the directing, I feel like has been better. Dead City probably started the best out of all of the spin-offs. That first episode of Dead City was really good, but after that it kind of went downhill. Yeah. But yeah, this one has been consistent across the first 2 episodes. Hopefully it gets even better. But yeah, I've enjoyed what I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, this is the future's bright for The Walking Dead, as morbid as that sounds, but it definitely is, because besides this show, Dead City we just brought up, that's coming back. That's fun. That's great. New environment, new bad guys, and all kinds of stuff going on. There's other possibilities there. Then we have with Daryl in France and the mutated walkers that are over there that are doing all kinds of craziness. That's also fun. And then, of course, the callback of getting the OGs out of a really bad situation. And, of course, that big reunion that everyone, I mean, if this episode pulled in big numbers, that one that leads into the reuniting of RJ and Judith with mom and dad is going to go boop through the roof. That's one where you bring back Talking Dead and you do all this stuff and you get the cast member. That's going to be huge fun. You know what? Bring back Carl. Find a way to bring him back from the dead.
Bring back the governor.
Like they brought back. Yeah, bring the governor back. They never died. That was an accident. There was a look-alike. I don't know. It just always got me off. I'm so pissed that Carl's dead. Sorry, people, if you wonder why. He shouldn't have died. He shouldn't have died. Could have played a major part in all of this. Every time I see Rick and Michonne and their story and they're dealing with something and they need help, I'm like, Carl could have been in that spot. Carl could have helped out. Carl could have did this. Oh, he was. It upsets me. It upsets me. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in over on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Thanks for following and supporting us and checking us out over at thekoalition.com, where we have interviews and game reviews and movie reviews and all kinds of other shows. Whether the Power Podcast, right? That's the other one that Rich does with Gary Schwabe and a few others, I think. So it's great. It's great. We're glad for the support. So we just want to give a quick thank you to all of you guys. And that's it. We're out, and we will be back next week for episode 3, people. Peace.
Peace.